Welcome back to Bible Shorts, episode 59, 5 loaves and 2 fish. One day Jesus left Capernaum and went off in a boat to the other side of the Sea of Galilee with his disciples, and a large crowd followed them, impressed by the signs he had gave by curing the sick. Jesus climbed a hillside and sat down there with his disciples. And then looking up, Jesus saw the crowds approaching, and he said to Philip, "Where can we buy some bread for these people to eat?" He only said this to test Philip. He himself knew exactly what he was going to do. Philip answered, half a year's wages would only buy enough to give them a small piece each." Another of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said, "There is a small boy here with 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. But what is that among so many?" Jesus said to his disciples, "Ask the people to sit down." There was plenty of grass there, and as many as 5,000 men sat down. Then Jesus took the loaves, gave thanks, and gave them out to all who were sitting ready. He then did the same thing with the fish, giving out as much as was wanted. When the people had eaten enough, he said to the disciples, "Pick up the pieces left over so that nothing gets wasted." They picked up the pieces and filled 12 baskets with scraps left over from the meal of 5 barley loaves. The people, seeing this sign that he had given, said, "This really is the prophet who is to come into the world." Jesus, who could see they were about to come and take him by force and make him king, escaped back to the hills by himself. Because Jesus knew he was not here as a warrior king. He was here for a completely different reason. That evening, the disciples went down to the shore of the lake and got into their boat to make for Capernaum on the other side of the lake. It was getting dark now, and Jesus had still not rejoined them. The wind picked up and the sea started to get rough, and they rowed 3 or 4 miles trying to get back to Capernaum. Then suddenly they saw Jesus walking on the lake and coming towards the boat, and this frightened them. But he said, "It is I. Do not be afraid." They were for taking him into the boat, but in no time it reached the shore at the place they were making for. Next day, the people who had been on the hillside and who were still there on that side of the lake got into boats and crossed over to Capernaum to look for Jesus, because they knew he had not left with his disciples. And when they found him, they said to him, "Teacher, how did you get here?" Jesus answered, "I tell you, you are not looking for me because you have seen the signs I did, but because you had all the bread you wanted to eat. Do not work just for food that cannot last, but to do the works that God wants." Then they said to him, "Well, what must we do if we are to do the works that God wants?" And Jesus gave them this answer. He said, "It is this, to believe in me, the one God has sent. I have come down from heaven, not to do my own will, but to do the will of the one who sent me. All who the Father gives me will come to me, and whoever believes in me, I shall not turn away." Meanwhile, some people were complaining to each other about him. "Surely this is Jesus, son of Joseph," they said. "We know his father and mother. How can he now say, 'I have come down from heaven'?" Jesus said in reply, Stop complaining to each other. It is written in the prophets, in our scriptures. They will all be taught by God. To hear the teaching of the Father and learn from it is to come to me. As I have told you, you can see me, and still you do not believe. And he taught this in Capernaum, in the synagogue. Look for Bible Shorts episode 60. Lazarus, come out.